Hello, everybody. Welcome. I love what Buddha says. He says, if you want to fly, give up everything that weighs you down. That could be so many different things. And I'd like to ask you a question today. Are you one to complain often? Has it become a habit of yours to constantly keep on complaining about this, complaining about that, or look for things to complain about because you don't like silence? And it's hard for you to just accept whatever situation you're in today. Well, I hope in this video, something I say may encourage your hearts to just go where your energy flows and learn to cultivate a heart of gratitude and contentment today. I love what Dr. Caroline Leaf says. And she says, negative complaining affects the energy flow of the brain. And she says, thoughts impacts you and the brain. Complaining can be a habit. The gamma activity in the brain is vitally important. So complaining leads to worry. And life is too short to worry about this and to that, and to worry about that, and to complain about this and complain about that. For it says in the Bible, God will provide for you. You are worth much more than the sparrows or the lilies of the valleys. He provides for them, and He will provide all that you need. So there is no need to complain, but to cultivate a heart of gratitude today. Also, Dr. Caroline Leaf says, complaining shrinks the hippocampus, an area of the brain that is critical to problem solving and intelligent thought. What does complaining do to the brain? It does a number. It's very toxic to our brain if we keep on being in the habit of complaints. Hanging out even with negative people is also as bad as hanging out with our own negative thoughts. So are you one to always complain, or are you one to always be on the receiving end and being that listener of somebody else always complaining to you about this and that? It can do a number on our brain and in our mind and in our health and our well-being. So let us take caution today. Before habitually complaining about something, let us just choose to zip our lip and know that it's damaging our brain in some way. It's just preventing us to just be healthy and to grow and to enjoy this God-given life that Jesus gave to all of us. I like to share with you in the verse, Ephesians 4:29, and it says, let no corrupt communication proceed out of which is good to the use of edifying, that may minister grace onto the hearers. It is so important. Let us not use words of complaints, but only edification words that may be great to the hearers when they listen to our voice and what we have to say. And it also says in the Bible verse, Philippians 2:14 through 15. It says, do all things without complaining and disrupting and arguing, that you may become blameless and harmless, pure children of God, without fault in a warped and crooked generation. Then you will shine among them like stars in the sky as you hold firmly the word of life. So let us not complain or disrupt or argue. No, instead, let us choose to be like stars. I remember the time when my mother and father-in-law lived with us for 8.5 years. And my mother-in-law was always in the habit of complaining and venting out to my husband Andy, her youngest son. She would be in the living room and they will be in the living room together. And she will always be in the habit, she needs to project and vent out to somebody all her unhappiness, all her complaints, all her naggings. And my husband would just take it in and listen to her complaining about this person, that person, dissatisfaction in life, so many things day in and day out. And I would just watch there witnessing this scenario every day. I would say, wow, Andy, how could you take in your mother's complaints all the time? Doesn't it affect you? You just seem so worn and tattered after you leave your conversation with your mother. She's venting and projecting out all this venom. You are just her garbage dump truck, and you're just taking it. Finally, I was so happy and proud of my husband one day. He said to his mother, there she goes again, complaining and venting out to my husband. He says, stop. If you were to complain one more time, I'm going to get up and leave. And sure enough, she didn't listen to what he said. She got into that habitual habit of complaining to him and nagging him about so many things in her life that she was dissatisfied with, that he stood up and he left. She would look pretty taken aback by that because he changed up his action. He chose to protect and guard his mind, heart, and spirit. He didn't want his brain to be damaged with all that toxicity in him, and just no more. So, wow, the next few days I saw her complain less. And that was such a beautiful sight for me to see. And I remember I had a few people in my life. They're always in the habit of complaining to me all their woes in life. And when I came home from work, I was drained to the max, hearing everybody's complaints and problems in their life. Wow. I mean, I empathize with them. I truly care for people's well-being. But wow, I had to learn to put up my boundaries and just protect and guard my heart and just get rid of any kind of toxicity, because it wasn't fair for me to bring in all of their negativity into my family when I walk in the front door of my house. So if you're one to complain, it is not fair for yourself or for the well-being of other people that you care about that's around us. You're just going to push them away. And in the Bible, it says clearly, don't complain, but let us rather be like shining stars in this warped and crooked generation of ours. How do you stop complaining and murmuring? You can choose to do what is God's will today. It says in Romans 8:28, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. So all things will work out together for the good. Just keep doing your part. And it says in 1 Thessalonians 5:18, in everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you. Let us cultivate the habit of giving thanks rather than complaining. I'll never forget a few people who were just handicapped, had a bad back or a leg, and they would share with me. They would go to the doctor's waiting room and sit there. They would look around the room and notice other people who was in far worse condition that they were in. It put them in perspective. Wow, here I am complaining about my back, or here I am complaining about not being able to walk, but I see this other person with an amputated leg. I see another person in a wheelchair. I mean, there's so much we can complain about, but there again, let's change it up. Let us learn to cultivate a heart of gratitude, contentment, and be living in the peace and joy today. Let us protect and guard our brain and prevent any kind of toxicity to enter. You be in charge today. Set up boundaries if you have to with other people. If they're in the habit of complaining to you, stand up and walk away like my husband did. And if you're in the habit of complaining, just remember, we're just diminishing our brain. And no, we want it to be alert and intact and make us an intellectual, so we may be able to just thrive in this life and to enjoy this one life that God's given to each and every one of us. So again, what is God's will? To give a heart of thankfulness in all things, and always trust that God will provide all your needs. Thank you. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.